So Bhante, I've been practicing for many years, and there's one thing I just can't seem to overcome. I've endured a certain childhood trauma, and it still haunts me. Flashbacks of those events persist, leading me to mistrust the world and anticipate further pain. It's the reason why I got into Buddhism. And this also causes me to avoid relationships and become increasingly introverted. How can I enjoy life and live with greater ease?
Well, that's your problem, really, right there. So you can't be practicing the Dhamma rightly and enjoying the life in the sense of relationships and the world. The world is the peril, suffering, bond, trap, all of that. So even if you had no childhood traumas, if you actually want to practice Dhamma rightly, that should be taking you in the direction of abandoning all relationships, abandoning the world, abandoning any ease that you find on account of that world, because it's not safe. You're finding safety in a burning house. So my answer to this person is really you need to kind of learn a bit more about actual goals of Dhamma are, and then clarify your own goals in regard to it, because it seems that you want to have both. You're practicing the Dhamma to overcome the trauma so that you can really enjoy the life. That's not the Dhamma you're practicing. Because even if you're practicing Dhamma on account of a trauma, you would be overcoming the trauma by overcoming the world that your trauma depends on, that your trauma lives in. And if you overcome the whole world, the whole possibilities of the world, the future, no past traumas can touch you. The reason why people are still under the thumb of the traumas is because they refuse to relinquish the world. They refuse to relinquish the senses, sense organs, dependence on relationships, joys of the world and sensuality. So you keep yourself inside of the hunter's forest. So you're going to be hunted still. And the past times you got caught and stuff will be always applicable. It will always bother you because you refuse to give it all up.
And this person thinks that the joys, the sensual pleasures in the world, the joys, the relationships, that will cure.
No.
That's somehow.
That's what I mean. Those things in and of themselves are already afflictions, even if you had no specific traumas to talk about. Being dependent mentally for your well-being, for your safety, on the joys of the world, on the pleasures of the sense organs and senses, that's like the most perilous thing you can do. That is the true affliction. So in a way, if somebody had a trauma that then turned him towards Dhamma, that's actually a fortunate thing. But it's unfortunate that they maybe have not really come across the right instruction of their Dhamma, so they're still under the impression that they can do both. They can practice the Dhamma to the extent of not being bothered by this specific trauma from their childhood, but at the same time enjoy the life and so on, that the world that is basically the trauma in and of itself.
It's kind of interesting that you have this trauma and the world shows itself to you.
Exactly. If the world was a good place, traumas would not be possible. And fundamentally, again, if you feel like, oh, I'm so unfortunate, like other people were not traumatized in the past, but I was, well, they haven't been traumatized yet. Maybe not in the childhood, but they will be traumatized. Sickness is a trauma. Old age is a trauma. Failing senses is a trauma. Death is the ultimate trauma that nobody can avoid. So from that point of view, all the other traumas are fairly circumstantial. Because death is the chief of all traumas that's waiting everyone. And that is, again, you will be affected by that if you still do not relinquish that world. So don't think of traumas in a way that, oh, these are the things that I must deal with specifically. Think of traumas as symptoms that reveal you the real nature of your situation, which is you are liable. You were liable to traumas, you are liable to pain, you are liable to suffering, and you will have to meet those things eventually, unless you abandon your entire dependence on sense organs, sense pleasures, the world, the joys, the relationships, and everything that come from it. So you have a choice. If you stay there, you then have to just accept the fact that you're going to be hunted down by circumstances, by unpleasant feelings, and eventually caught up with. Or if you don't, then you will actually at least try and apply yourself rightly, in the sense of the correct practice of the Dhamma, and abandon it once and for all.